Tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you currently working? What was your previous occupation?
Hello, my name's Barb Lindsay, and this is September 21st. My grandson is helping me make this tape. He's waving to me now, but you can't see him. His adorable self. Previously I was a prison warden. I started as a school teacher and kept getting promotions in the school system, and actually worked with male max custody men most of my career. Loved it. Retired when I was 56, about 20 years ago, because it didn't see well enough and I didn't want to go on disability, and I had enough years in for retirement, so I took advantage of it. Then I took a part-time job after I retired, volunteering most of the time, but a little bit of part-time work at the Columbus Zoo, working for Jack Hanna, and got to work with the animals there, and I just love animals. So that was a fun job for me, and I was there 18 years. But I'm not working at all now. I'm just a retired person now. One thing I do want to tell you about myself, because you're going to need it sooner or later, and you can't tell it by looking at me, I'm not even 5 foot tall. So when you're looking at dogs for me, probably not your tallest dog would be the best choice. Just for what that's worth, I'm going to say that. I'm sure.
Alrighty, so what can you tell us about your vision?
Okay, I started losing my vision when I was 7. I have a condition called Stargardt's. It's a hereditary, relatively rare disease. My great-grandmother was totally blind at age 4, and my dad also had Stargardt's. We did some research for people doing some blood studies. I'm not ever sure what came of that. His vision loss was minor, and I was told 20 years ago that I had from 1 to 10 years of usable sight left, but that's not the case. I still have usable sight, and I'm legally blind, but I still can see a lot. I can't see faces, I can't see colors, but I can see a lot. And basically, I have enough vision to do what I want to do, but if I don't want to do it, I don't see very well, so I can't do it.
So can you tell us why you're applying for a guide dog, and why did you choose Guide Dogs of the Desert?
I had a good friend, Beverly, who was blind, and she had a guide dog, and she was kind of my mentor for many years. And she gave me some good advice that at the time I questioned, but I see now why it was important. One of the things she told me is to learn things before I needed to use them. For example, to learn Braille, even though I still don't use Braille well. I can do Braille. And everything that I needed to do, she would advise me to do it ahead of time. Mostly her advice was more of an attitude thing, that how important attitude was, and she had a good sense of humor and was really important. She taught me to use a white cane, but I learned later when I was doing O&M training that I wasn't doing it properly. And she helped me discover things like the talking books for the blind, which I use all the time. And she just gave me a lot of day-to-day information that was helpful. And she had a guide dog, and I was friends with her long enough. She had a couple different ones, and I loved her dog so much. And I'm going to tell you a fun story about one of her dogs. She was helping me in the prison system. I was setting up programs for the inmates because we had 2,000 men with nothing to do all day. So we decided we were going to teach them Braille, and they could Braille games. So like if a man was losing his vision and he wanted to play Chutes and Ladders with his grandchildren, we would Braille the game, Chutes and Ladders. We would Braille card games. And sometimes it was the grandchild that was blind. So it was a useful program. So one day she came with her dog, and going inside a prison is a sally port. And always when she would come in, we would close the first gate and we would give her her visitor's badge and we would open the next gate and she would go in. Well, one day the dog would not move forward when she told it to. It just wouldn't move. And it walked over to the counter where, first it was just looking at the counter. So she took it over to the counter where she got its badge. I said, I think I know what the problem is. So I got the dog a visitor's badge and put it on its gate. And then it went directly in. It just wanted a badge too. It was just fun to be around Bev, and everything about her friendship was positive.
Have you ever had a guide dog or attended a guide dog school? If so, can you tell us about that experience?
I have never had a guide dog. I've had dogs in my life. I went to Pilot Dogs in Columbus, Ohio for O&M training, and we spent one day working with guide dogs to see if we would be compatible with that kind of training, and they gave me a poodle named Jill. She was a standard poodle, but she was small, and I loved Jill. But Jill was already promised to someone else, and I didn't get her. And since then, Pilot Dogs no longer train poodles. They only train German Shepherds and Labradors.
Then have you had orientation and mobility training? Explain when, how long. Did you also receive instruction in outdoor travel skills? And then how long have you been an independent and confident cane traveler?
Yes, I had O&M training at Pilot Dogs. It was 2 weeks. It was very intensive. We were there day and night for 2 weeks. We were not allowed to have any visitors. And I went in, the first thing I told the trainer was, I don't think I belong here because I can still see some things. And he said that was for him to decide. And after about 20 minutes, he came over and hugged me and he said, honey, you belong here. So he helped me a lot. It was in Columbus, Ohio, and Broad and High is the main intersection, the largest streets in Columbus, Ohio. And to get through the class, we had to, most of our training was with blindfolds on because we're all losing more sight. So we had to be able to know how to do it without using residual sight. So we actually had to cross the streets at Broad and High and was told to find a Starbucks. And we had ridden down on the bus, city bus, and I asked what we could use, and he said, our trainer Steve said, whatever we had. So I asked my phone where the nearest Starbucks was, and he said that was fine, and it told me where to go, and I actually heard a policeman, so I stopped and asked him if I was going the right direction, and he said yes. Pretty soon we could smell it. And the other gentleman that was in class with me, he had less vision than I did, so we found it together, and I helped him find the door, because I could get the door. And one of the main things we learned at O&M training was to be a self-advocate. So I have to tell this story. He doesn't want to just sit around and not do things that we can't do when there are options available. So where I live, there were no APS systems. And I wrote to and called the state, the county, the township people, the city people, to find out the right people for each intersection, because I'm a snowbird and I live half the year in Ohio and half the year in Florida. So I had the two main intersections right near where I live that I was dealing with. And Ohio was fantastic. When I called them on a Thursday, Monday they returned my call, asked if I could meet with them Tuesday. They came to the intersection. I thought they were going to tell me they didn't have money to put in an APS. And I was ready with my arguments for that, on how I would help them find funding, because I knew where there was a grant available. And they said, no, we have the funding. Show us what you need. There's different ones available. And the man had brought his supervisor along, and it was just a few months later that it was installed. I also received, there is an APS system now near my house in Florida. It's wonderful. It took the state of Florida 2 years to put it in, but it was a state street rather than a county, so it took longer. Well, I guess it's the other one was state too. So we learned that as well, and I found that to be very helpful. And in fact, now from where I live to get to the intersection, there's no sidewalk, which you'll see later on in the video. So I told him that that wasn't safe for my dog when I get a dog, because I'm positive. I like to be optimistic about things. And besides, other people walk on that street, and some of them have mobility scooters and some push strollers. And there was a kid on a bicycle who got hit by a car and now has brain damage. So, this is a busy, it's not a really busy street, not by California standards by any means, but it's busy enough it needs a sidewalk. So, several months ago, the county engineer called me, and he had gotten funding, and instead of putting in a sidewalk, they're extending the bike path. And I have a bike path right across the street from me here in Ohio, and they're extending a bike path, and the county gave him $30,000 to put it in, and the state gave him $1.55 million. So it's going to be lit, and it's going to be wonderful, and it's going to help a lot of people. So it was a good experience.
Awesome. And then can you describe your home environment and then where you intend to relieve your dog?
I can describe my home environment easily. I'm in Ohio right now. I won't go to Florida for another month. So if you want to follow me around with the camera, I'm first going to show you where I can relieve the dog, and then I'll show you around the house. So, Benny, follow me, please. I do not use a cane in the house. I only use it when I'm leaving the regular environment. So if you go right outside here, this is where my dog will come to relieve herself, himself. But can you show them kind of like around here? That will be the dog's bathroom. And then follow me a little bit more down. Later on, we'll take a walk down here and go down the street, and right across the street is the bike path, and that's where the dog will get exercise. We can walk on the bike path. Okay, Benny, we're going back inside.
Sounds good.
So you were in the veranda. We have a living room. We have a great room. This is just a condo. And this is the master bedroom and our bath. And I don't know what you teach us to do with the dogs, but the dog will be welcome to stay in our bedroom if it sleeps on the bed, whatever you allow. If I put a pretty crate or something, whatever you teach us to do with our dogs. Because I think different places teach different things. Now the kitchen, laundry room, that goes out to the garage. Guest room. This is the den. That's my husband. And another bath. And that's pretty much our condo here in Ohio. In Florida, we live in a mobile home on the church grounds. It's a campground. It's really almost as big as this house. But it's 2 bedrooms instead of 3, and 2 baths, and a living room, and it has a veranda or Florida room, whatever you want to call it, and a laundry room. And the mobile home park is a church camp. So There's lots of lanes to walk around. We're right on a very busy street. South Florida Avenue in Lakeland, Florida is extremely busy. We can walk to about 24 different restaurants without even exerting ourselves. So we're right in the main part of town, and it's wonderful. So we have a rural area here. The whole city where I live in Ohio is only 3,000 people. In Lakeland, our town is more like 100,000.
And then, are there any other pets in the home? If so, explain.
I don't have any pets. We live 6 months in Ohio, 6 months in Florida, so I don't even have any plants that need care. The outside plants, the condo association takes care of. But I do have a grand puppy. My grandchildren have a dog. She's a mini golden doodle, and she's fantastic. But she comes over and we go visit them frequently. I'm very, very close to my daughters and my grandchildren. So they only live 7 minutes away, and I guess I would consider her as close as any dog I have would have to get along with Amber.
And then who else lives in your home? And then do they understand that the guide dog is a working guide, and that you as the handler are responsible for the physical care and maintenance of the dog's specialized training?
Yes. The only other person that lives with me is my husband, and you just met. I guess he didn't even turn around and say hello, but Terry is in there, and he's also retired, and he understands that the dog's my responsibility. He also loves dogs. And my grandchildren pop in and out, and frequently, but not often enough by my standards, but they don't live here.
And then describe the types of areas where the dog will be working: residential, large business districts, etc.
I think I kind of got ahead and said that kind of thing, but the dog would be working here. We would be on the bike path a lot because I love to go for walks on the bike path, and we'll do that as part of this video. In Florida, it's big city. There's a bus stop like 50 yards from my house, so we might get on the city bus and ride. To walk to restaurants, to walk to get a mani-pedi, to the doctor's right across the street. All of us walk a lot there, and I'm hoping to even walk more. I had a veterinarian once told me that he never saw an overweight dog yet whose owner didn't need more exercise. So I'm hoping the dog will push me to be out and walking even more than I do now. But for me to go for a walk and not be back for a couple hours is not unusual.
And then do you do any volunteer work at a location outside of your home? And then what is their attitude towards you having a guide dog?
I'm not doing any volunteer work right now. I plan to. I've applied and been accepted, but I haven't started yet. In Florida, the Sheriff's Department has a program for elderly people to teach for older people to teach elderly people about computer scams and things like that, and even help them on the computer with their forensics type thing, which I think is an ideal thing for me. And I hope that works out, that I'm able to do that, but I can't say I'm doing it if I haven't even started yet. I didn't say something earlier that I should have. When I was talking at the beginning about being a prison warden, I should have included that the last 2 years of my career there, I actually worked in this, it was a year, maybe it wasn't 2 years, maybe it was just 1 year, but between 1 and 2 years, I worked in central office, and my responsibilities was any prisoner who came into the system that had a disability. So if somebody came in that was blind, to make sure that they had access to talking books or whatever they might do. Talk to the people individually and see what their needs were. So I can do a little bit of sign language. I no longer can read sign language, but I still know how to say it. To talk to people, we had more people with developmental disabilities than any others, but that was my responsibility. We had 59,000 inmates, and we had a fair number of people with disabilities that needed extra help, and I wanted to make sure that their resources were available for them.
So in relation to the 28-day on-campus training and factoring in qualities for a compatible handler, is there any health information that you think we should know about?
I don't have any major health problems other than my vision. I do have a mild asthma, so I carry an inhaler, and I go for a couple weeks sometimes without using it. I have a, what's the thing called that you use? Pause it. I apologize for pausing it. I couldn't think of the word. It's nebulizer is the word I was looking for. I'll bring that along with me. I probably, in 28 days, I may not use it at all, but I would have it just in case. Also, I have injured my ankle a number of times, so when I'm walking a long time, I have an ankle brace that I put on. Nothing serious at all, just minor things.
Do you have a canine allergy or anyone in the family that has this allergy?
Yes, I have a granddaughter who has very severe asthma and can't be around dogs at all. I have a slight allergy to dogs. I didn't even know I had it until my last dog passed away, and my cough got much better, and the doctor told me that that was asthma, and I probably had an allergy to the dog. So it's important to have a hyperallergenic dog. And that's why I'm applying to you, because you're still training poodles, and the doctor tells me that that should solve any problem I would have. But I need to have a hyperallergenic dog because of my granddaughter Abby.
Then other than understanding the basic guide work, please describe the most important traits you feel you need in your guide dog.
Well, I think I mentioned before that a dog that's not too huge, because I know standard poodles vary quite a bit in their size, so not the largest ones. It has to be hyperallergenic, we talked about. Disposition-wise, I'm 78 years old, so a dog that's calm would make a lot of sense to me. Something that was too hyper, I think, could be a problem. And a dog that likes to go for walks, I don't think that. I know those personality qualities are important, but I don't have restrictions in my mind about what.
And then what general personality traits?
I like dogs that are sweet, affectionate. When I was at Pilot Dogs and we were over in their kennels and they had, 100 dogs there, I laughingly told them that the only dog they had that I really didn't want was one named Ken, and since my name's Barbara, I just thought Barbie didn't need a dog named Ken. But it was just a joke. They knew that.
Then final question. Are you willing to accept the guide dog that the experienced professionals at Guide Dogs of the Desert Training Department select as the most compatible for you?
Absolutely. There's no way you can be working with these dogs 40 hours a week and not know more about them than I would. So I have to expect, that's my general thing anyway. If I go in to get my hair cut, I tell them she knows more about hair than I do. I assume you know more about dogs than I do, and I'm willing to accept what you say. Yes.
Alrighty, I think we're all done.
Okay, how long did it last?